This right here is my favorite.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Darkness, and I am DarknessStone. And today we are looking at the amazing digital Circus. Now I'm a large fan of this series, and I have not watched the second episode in preparation for this video. Here is some history for you. The Amazing Digital Circus is an online 3D animated series created by Gooseworks. I actually didn't know that I knew of Gooseworks before this series, but then I discovered they also created an analog horror short called Blue Channel Thalsin. Something I watched back when it first came out 3 years ago, and I loved it. They also made a Bone Trousel remix that I learned about that I have used in D&D campaigns before. They also are a composer for the original pilot of Undertale, as well as the show Hell of a Boss. Goose eventually made a short called Little Runmo, which I watched and loved. Turned out that's where the Meatball Man meme came from. Goose is everywhere. However, because of this short, they were discovered by Glitch Productions, and were asked to make a pilot. Out of the three options, the Amazing Digital Circus was the one chosen. Then, through the next year or so, development of the show started, and they began releasing teasers, which got a bunch of attention. Then, it came to a head on October 13th, 2023, the release date of the pilot episode. The show quickly became a phenomenon, growing rapidly in popularity. I watched it on the day of release after seeing a few trailers, and, again, loved it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The show skyrocketed in views, a month later reaching 150 million views. 4 to 5 months later, in February of 2024, it surpassed 270 million views. At the time of recording the script, on July 2nd, it has surpassed 332 million views, nearly tripling Hazbin Hotel's pilot view count over the course of 4 years in less than a year, which I have heard some die-hard Hazbin Hotel fans are not so happy about. But hey, that's drama. I'm not a drama channel anymore.
I'm free!
This is an extreme success, and they have expanded it with a lot of merch, which I sadly cannot afford to buy, making it all the way to Hot Topic, releasing a second episode in less than a year, which is insane, including 2 shorts to announce the series has become a full one, and a merch drop, and so much more. I'm a big fan of the series, and I have seen everything up to the release of episode 2, which I have shut myself off from for this video. Now that I've gotten some beginning preamble out of the way, put on those VR headsets and choose a new name, because today we are joining the circus. Let us begin! Episode 1, Pilot, or as I like to call it, Episode 1, New Jester in Town, starts with a 4:3 aspect ratio showing a hilled area with the Glitch Company logo, fading to see the Amazing Digital Circus logo, all at a lower quality before we zoom in a bit to the screen, and everything becomes clearer as we enter the world of the circus. We fly into the tent, and we are welcomed by Kane, a man with the amazing dental plan, I must say, who is the ringmaster of the circus. He is joined by Bubble, his assistant, and we get to see inside the circus, which is full of wacky colors and things. We eventually get introduced to the characters through the intro song, showing all the characters. Those being ordered being Gangle, a creature made out of ribbons and a mask, Zubul, a wacky-looking gal with movable parts, Kinger, a chess piece with a pillow fort, Ragatha, a girl in a dress that is based off old Raggedy Ann dolls, Jax, a purple rabbit. It's a gold rabbit and purple man not together. Get that shit out of here! And Kaufmo, a clown who did not show up. We get the first sign of a glitch as the song repeats for a second before we get to see the moon and the sun. Then suddenly a jester girl appears out of nowhere. She's confused and tries to run towards an exit door that disappears, and we deal with a no-clipping plant before the song stops as this new character bumps into the others. Kane is asked if the new girl is an NPC or a person, and Kane confirms this is a new human that has entered this realm. The jester tries to take the headset off but is unable to, and begins to ask a bunch of questions. Regatta tells her to calm down and they have all been through this. The jester is not having any of it and tries to curse, but is unable to, being censored. This is a family-friendly place, so no foul language is allowed. She has to leave, and everyone just kind of goes silent. They explain that no one knows how to leave and welcomes the newcomer to their new home and body. A panic attack almost sets in, but the Jester thinks, oh, this must be a dream, and they should play along. Kane takes them on a tour of the circus grounds, the Void, and we learn that Kane has hundreds of all-seeing eyes that see everything. The moon tries to get frisky, but they go back to the grounds where the Jester just freaking pukes everywhere. Bubble pops out of Kane's hat to lick it up with a funny joke happening. I'm not going to tell you everything. This is a recap, not a retelling, so go watch the original source material, you dingus. The topic moves to the Jester's name, which she cannot remember. So they decide to give her a new one with a name machine. The first one is which is a no, and it lands on Pomni. They get a name, and Kane agrees with Jax 5 minutes ago, saying that there should be an adventure for the new character. Today's adventure is gathering the Gloinks, little strange-shaped creatures. Ragatha explains this is something to make sure they don't go insane, and Zuba gets taken by the Gloinks. Ragatha and Jack said they should go check on Kaufmo and offer for Kinger to go with them. He says no because he thinks that Kaufmo went insane. They get to a long hallway with rooms that have characters' faces plastered on them, which turns out to be their living spaces. Pomni has one already, which is nice. Ragatha goes on a small tangent about trying to find an exit, which goes into a dark road before they snap back into reality. Or digitally. They get to Kaufmo's door and ring the doorbell, no one answers. Jax uses one of his keys to open the door, which Ragatha is confused about. You see writing on the walls about an exit and there being no way out, as a big cane head is chasing Kaufmo, and we see this large blacked out creature with many multicolored eyes. Kind of looks like a blacked out llama with many eyes. We learned that this is called abstraction, and it's a thing that happens when you reach your breaking point and go insane completely. Jack flees with the bowling ball that he grabs as it gets out of the room and attacks Pomni and Ragatha. Mainly Ragatha though, who begins glitching out after being bodied. Pomni tries to help, but touching Ragatha while glitch causes her hand to glitch. Pomni runs in fear and Kaufmo chases her. Pomni loses it by having it crash to a wall and begins chasing a Gloink. Pomni runs back and we cut to Gengo and Kinger, who are looking down the hole where a Gloink took a piece of Zubul. Jack shows up and tells Kinger and Gengo that Kaufmo is okay, and he throws the bowling ball at Kinger, knocking both them and Gengo into the hole, with Jack following closely behind. They slide down and make their way to the Gloink Queen. Pomni makes her way back to the hallway of rooms that looks completely total. She finds Ragatha, who is still glitching, and she asks for her to go find Kane. Before she goes, Ragatha apologizes for Pomni's first day being so bad. Pomni runs around the circus trying to find Kane, opening doors over and over again to find him, and
Gloinks! You parasites!
she doesn't find Kane, but she does find Kaufmo. We cut to the Gloinks and the Gloink Queen, who is talking her spiel, and Zubul gets eaten before we see a glitching Gloink and Jax looking around nervously. As she runs, Pomni finds a mirror and sees herself for the first time. She breaks out of it when she finds an exit door, entering it. She walks through many exit doors and office spaces that all look the same, as the door on the outside disappears. Kaufmo is beating up a Gloink, who breaks through the floor and landing on the Gloink Queen, who he starts beating the out of her. Wait, I'm censored too? Oh, dang it. And they find their way out through an escalator. Pomni is still running and getting frustrated, before finding a room with a headset, completely giving in to frustration and laughing as she goes through another door. We can see the logo for something called CNA, and she enters an ever-growing hallway. She reaches the door and enters the Void. We cut to Kane and Bubble eating at a diner with many mannequins before Kane learns that Pomni is out in the Void, teleporting her out. He takes the abstracted Kaufmo and puts them in the cellar, a safe space in the circus that looks like a bunch of abstracted people are inside. Ragatha crawls over, Kane fixes her, before they are set down for a digital feast, made by Bubble. Pomni forces a smile, and the camera zooms out towards the Void, out of a computer with the headset. Now that's the end of episode 1, and boy was that a doozy. We will start with the story. This is a very good story for the pilot, introducing us to the world, most of its rules, a good amount of core characters and their personalities, and what to expect from it. We learned that this is a digital world, people being stuck here, there is no actual exit, the world isn't stable, If they lose their mind, they will abstract. NPCs exist. Previous people in this world existed. Kane controls and makes these adventures for people in the circus, and so much more. We can expect a strange mix of comedy and existential horror that is truly unique, and a strange characterization through the actions and voice talent. The pilot has characterized these characters really well, from the first experience through the story. Pomni is new and riddled with anxiety. Jax is a jerk and only in it for his satisfaction. Ragatha is kind, just wanting to help the new person and not immediately lose themselves. Gingle is very attached to their masks and seem to have some sort of dependence on their masks. Kinger is not all there, kind of lost in his own head, bringing random up things that don't make sense. And Zubul is angry most of the time and doesn't want to participate, which I get, but come on, you're stuck here, do something. These characters are all individuals and not only unique in personality but in design. The design of these characters are wacky, creative, and interesting. Each one you can black out entirely, and after only seeing the episode once, you'd be able to tell who's who, oh, that's Gango, oh, that's Jax, oh, that's Kane. They are extremely unique in shape, design, and mostly form. The main two examples I think of off the top of my head are Gangle and Kane. These two designs are fully unique and really show the skill of the character design and animation team. We'll start with Gangle. Gangle is made of red ribbons and a mask, and they are shaped in the form of a humanoid loosely. The main times I see their design being used in interesting ways is when they are thrown down the hole with the bowling ball, and a rock, paper, scissors match against Kinger. Both times, her design is used for a comedic advantage. Kane's, on the other hand, is about keeping things moving, showing his unhinged nature in his expressions. Many times throughout the pilot, his teeth will move or change shape to give expressions with his eyes. His Kane's cane, can be used for emphasis or for pointing, and his design is busy in a good way. Having a close to 3-color scheme with whites, blacks, and reds. This, however, does not make him look boring, because it has been used in a bunch of different ways throughout the pilot. Squashing, stretching, expanding, and even blue screening at one point. It's very cartoonish in nature, and it really puts Kane as one of the forefront characters based on design alone. He's always interesting to watch. Not to mention all of these designs are done in 3D, and they are all really well animated. They squash and stretch, move smoothly and not choppily, and even go off model for a joke or for exaggeration, it always returns to the normal model proportions. Now we'll talk about the world for a bit. The digital circus is a place inside of a computer that people are transported to by putting on a headset similar to a VR one. It is made of a wide variety of shapes, colors, paintings, stages, and more. Looking like the circus tent is set up for a show. It has many levels and a bunch of smaller details to be found around, such as doors that punch you for some reason, and one sending you into a black void with a bunch of carousels on top of another carousel. It seems to have some sort of structure, large slides and pipes that are kind of littering the place. One thing we know for sure about it is that it's actually unstable. Things are colliding with the ground, textures are breaking, and Kane experiencing errors when it comes to unknown possibilities. The circus is either unfinished, procedurally generated, or made by Kane, who is confirmed to be an AI, or all three. We do know, however, that Kane is the one with all the power. He's able to fix glitches, making NPCs, or the mannequins, and says that he is the one working on adventures. However, this doesn't make Kane stable. I believe he's unfinished, or he's still working on his own to finish himself or the circus. You can still be unstable and try to make something stable if you still have the capability to do so. Overall, this episode is an amazing start to the series. It is well scripted, animated, and voice acted. Jokes land well, it gives a great detail to the settings and characters, and explains the rules of the world through actions, not just by listing them out. It is extremely enjoyable to watch, and I would highly recommend it to anyone who is looking for a new show or has interest in online animation and production. Not only that, the score is a powerful and hits all the right beats, pun intended. It makes sense, since the creator of the show, again Gooseworks, is a musician. Overall, the show gets a 10 out of 10 for the pilot. Highly recommended, and I still go back to watch it often. Yes, I am counting this, but there is a specific reason for that. For those who don't know, this is an announcement video about confirming that the pilot would become a full series and a merch announcement, but that's not all. This video actually was teased in the first episode. When Kane looks at his wacky watch to see Pomni is in the void, a link shows up on screen. The site showed Pomni sleeping, and eventually when this video was released, she woke up. And this video picked up where she is awoken. Kane wakes Pomni up and confirms that the series will be made because they have reached their goal of 1 view. He then takes Pomni out to the grounds to tell her about how popular she's gotten and how he has no canonical knowledge of it. They had to make that clear. Showing most likely smut and content farms. And Kane says it'll only get worse, before showing some sneak peeks of future episodes. They are interrupted by the son who got jealous he didn't get any lines in the episode. Kane makes jokes about shipping wars, and Pomni asks if it's a cry for help. Then my favorite joke so far happens.
I see.
I blocked out for a second. What happened?
They announce merch before the video ends, and the reason I wanted to include this video is because it has a whole bunch of personality and jokes that I feel like it would add to the experience of the digital circus. It adds the wacky watch stuff, gives us a bit more of Kane and Pomni and Bubble. Can't forget Bubble. And if you skip this because it wasn't part of episode 2, I'd say give it a watch. Well, time for some new territory for me. I have waited a month and a half since this video came out at the time of scripting this to watch this because I've been wanting my first impressions for this video. So let's go. We start off with Pomni having a nightmare about beginning to abstract with them running and begging for help, before falling into the cellar as Kane, Ragatha, and Jax look over, jolly as ever. Pomni wakes up and slams all over the floor, glitching something in the floor, and when she looks up, Ragatha is the one on the other side of the door telling her to have a good morning. Ragatha says that there's no hard feelings about yesterday about abandoning her for the exit, but Pomni's still kind of out of it from the nightmare. They are brought to the stage where Kane tells them about today's adventure, going to the glorious Candy Kingdom to stop the bandits who stole their maple syrups and bring them to justice. Bubba gets bleeped out, and Zubul rejects being part of the adventure even though Kane is trying out a new AI. Pomni equates all of this to LARPing, and the group is shoved to a portal to the kingdom. Kane smokes a bubble pipe and offers it to Bubble, who says they're trying to quit. They ride into the kingdom on a chariot, and they admire the castle, saying how great it is, before an NPC rams into Gangle and breaking their comedy mask again. Dang, they cannot catch a break. The queen comes and gives them their quest, a rig to fight the bandits, and a key back to the city, which is given to Ragatha. Jax calls shotgun and bumps into the driver's seat and checks out the less than optimal horn. Gangle drives them out of the kingdom, and we cut out to the bandits, saying that the syrup they get will save lives, all having Australian accents. The group makes it close, and Jax plans to shoot them with a candy shotgun. Ragatha tries to get Pomni involved, and Jax just says to be assertive and throws Pomni out of the truck. Pomni holds both of the cars together, and Pomni calls Jax a as Jax is being sarcastic looking for a bazooka. Pomni can't hold it and gets launched onto the bandit's car, and one of them tries to grab Pomni, but their arms are too short. It gets kicked out of the back, but grabs on the wire before pulling some pizza tower poses. The bandits shift the car into rocky road, and go onto a rocky territory to lose the main gang. As the group gets on the rocky terrain to catch up, Ragatha and Kinger get covered with knives as the bums kind of move everyone around. Gangle gets persuaded to ram into them by Jax, and when they do, the bandits activate some sort of spikes. Kinger tries to help by throwing an anchor for Pomni to catch, but it misses, ramming the two trucks together and sending the group's one into a chocolate lake. We learn that their physical bodies are pretty much indestructible, with Ragatha not only getting cut with the knives, but also getting impaled by the truck spikes. The bandit's truck glitches through the floor Gmod style, sending it flying upwards, with the bandit leader and Pomni falling through the ground. The bandit leader lands in a place with no textures and a large chasm. He finds a model room, a hidden room in most 3D games that have all the models spread out in A or T posing positions. They have to be stored somewhere. Pomni eventually falls down this room too and talks to the bandit, and he asks who they are, what he is, who he is, after seeing a model of himself there. Pomni tries to find a way out, but the bandit confronts Pomni, telling her to tell him what he is. Ragatha, Jax, Gangle, and Kinger all float up to the truck in the fudge water. Jax says that they were one tanker away from being Augustus Gloot. Love that reference. They meet the Fudge, a being who used to live in the Candy Kingdom walls before being banished for eating the townsfolk. Jax makes a deal with the Fudge, helping them deal with the bandits. They will help them back into the kingdom. As they make the deal, the bandits fly into the fudge water. We cut to Pomni and the bandit. While Pomni is trying to find a way out, the bandit is sitting there contemplating existence. Pomni has a talk with him, trying to relate to his feelings and offering him a place at the circus. He asks why she's trying to cheer him up, and Pomni just doesn't want anyone to feel the way he's feeling. She says she could use a friend. He agrees as long as they don't tell his friends about this. Pomni agrees, and we learn that the leader of the bandits' name is Gummigoo. Pomni thinks of a way for them to escape, using the collision boxes to send them violently upwards in the truck model. As they are sent upwards, Pomni and Gummigoo share a small moment before we cut to the rest of the gang and the fudge! They have a talk, and Ragatha says she is worried about Pomni is having another bad experience, and doesn't think that Pomni likes her that much. Kinger talks to Ragatha and basically calms her down and gives her some reprieve, before they hear an explosion and Pomni and Gummigoo's truck crash into the fudge. Pomni and Gummigoo both puke, and Ragatha runs over to check on Pomni, who says they have made a new friend. Gummigoo reunites with his mates and asks if his friends can take the second truck, which is full of maple syrup, which there doesn't seem to be an issue about. Jax is very much disappointed. Ragatha doesn't know if bringing Gummigoo is allowed, but that was the least she could offer him. They cut back to the kingdom and everyone's celebrating as the portal opens for them to leave. As they do, a loud crash is heard, and it turns out that Jax left the gate open for the fudge. They go through the portal, and when Kane sees an NPC, he...
Looks like one of these guys made it through!
Wait, what?
What? Kane explains himself, saying that if he can't tell the difference between an NPC and a human, he doesn't know what will happen. Kane goes to drink water as Pomni has a mini breakdown. Suba comes out and says it's ready, and it turns out the circus member have funerals for those who abstract, this one being for Kaufmo. A melancholy version of the main theme plays as we fade through different people talking about Kaufmo silently, as Pomni remembers the nightmare from the beginning, and instead of falling through, the hands of the other circus members catch her, excluding Jax. The music gets slowly louder as the camera pans back and the episode ends. Now, I was excited to watch this, and I was far from disappointed. This episode was full of jokes that made me laugh out loud. Bubbles swear, Kinger throwing stuff, and Jack's slapstick all made me laugh multiple times throughout the episode. Not only did this episode have plenty of jokes, it had a lot of thought-provoking and heart-touching moments, mostly to do with Gummigoo. I wasn't expecting the angle it was going to take because I was 9 minutes in and it was all cartoony antics, but then it took a drastic shift, which I will honestly expect for future episodes. Gummigoo's mix of self-discovery, anguish, and a feeling of insignificance when he discovered the model room was something only a show like this could manage, and it did it amazingly. Not only that, they did it with an Aussie gummy crocodile. This episode also shows a lot of stuff when it comes to other characters. Ragatha is obviously a strange mix of a motherly figure and someone who wants to be your friend. She's consistently trying to make sure Pomni is included in their group activities, and it's a good contrast to the other characters. Jax is, of course, a jerk, and he continued to be that way throughout the episode. He pulls tricks, makes threats, and seems to enjoy the torment of others, or just breaking the boundaries of others and the adventures. He seems to get grumpy when things don't go the way he wants to, like at the end parts of the episode. Gangle is an anxious mess as always, but they seem to have a bit more characterization than the last episode. Jax threatens something about figurines that she doesn't want Ragatha to know about, but her being anxious and an artist is a constant from this episode. Kinger is just as unhinged as ever, but he took more of a backseat of this episode, not having as much to characterize him, aside from being there for Ragatha when she had her doubts. His one-liners were really funny, however, as he comes up with a bunch of random things that keep things interesting. Zubul, on the other hand, was gone for most of the episode, only being there for the beginning and the end. But it seems she spent that whole time setting up a funeral for Kaufmo. Seems there is some gold behind that pitch black heart after all. With the new characters, Gummigoo was of course the star of the show, and oh boy did they do him well. A person who thought their whole life was real, figuring out they're part of a game for another group of real people would be mind-shattering. But they handled it great with the writing and the spectacular animation. He didn't get over it either. He was still facing it when he was leaving and didn't want his lads to know because he wanted to protect them from what he knew. That was some strong characterization for a character who was just introduced and then demolished in a single episode. Another standout in the character department was Pomni herself. She's grown quite a bit from episode 1. Learning how her new body works, figuring out how collision works when it comes to glitches in the circus and using it to her advantage to get out of the model room, and then talking down Gummigoo. We could see behind the anxiety eater someone who is kind and looking for connection to keep herself grounded in this new world. She thought she had it with Gummigoo, but after the funeral, she gained an appreciation for those around her because they actually care. It's nice to see. Even though the ending was a bit bitter, there is still a sweet core to it. Now for this episode, I would give it a 9.8 out of 10. It isn't much as a staple as the first episode, but it has so much to love and enjoy, I could not give it lower than that. Now, I would like to talk about a few things from the series thus far. One thing that is a constant in these episodes is the odd things happening in the circus. The main thing I'm talking about is the glitching. This world is unstable, and it was even used to a character's advantage in episode 2. In episode 1, there was a few things that were clipping through each other, and it was the main plot occurrence in episode 2, causing both Pomni and Gummigoo to get under the map. This is what I am theorizing will be a huge part of future episodes. Whether it will be a way for them to find a way out, or used to do something with or against Cain, that is yet to be seen. But with its prevalence, I feel like it will be a large part of future episodes. I have also seen a tweet by Gooseworks showing that the episodes have a spotlight for each character, with the third being about Kinger and Zubul, the fourth being about Gangle, fifth being about Ragatha, sixth being about Jax, and the rest up to 9 being unknown. My theory would be about Pomni, Cain, and the exit, but I am not sure what order of. I'd also like to mention the soundtrack, and it is truly amazing, elevating the scenes and atmosphere of the show. Both Gooseworks and Evan Alderne, I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, did an amazing job with the music, being both atmospheric and fitting for the scenes at hand. It could be low and methodical or grand and emotional. I'm going to use 3 examples from episode 2 here since it is the freshest on my mind, but don't think I forgot about the ending tune of episode 1. Episode 2 I feel has 3 standouts when it comes to music. Funnily enough, at the beginning, middle, and end. The first track I'm going to talk about is from Pomni's Nightmare, called Rise and Shine. It has an amazing amount of tension and build-up in its tones. It probably shows anxiety and the fear in the scene, and it makes me feel an absurd tension. Next is Somebody Real, that played when Gummigoo fell through the map and found the models. It gives a strange sense of unrealness, like there's something there, but nothing at the same time. There's a hint of tension, but it feels almost methodical, if that's the right word. Like the tension is there, but it's muffled. Its tune has these smaller notes being played as the backing track kind of flows throughout itself, like waves crashing and morphing into each other. It gives that feeling of unrealness while still having a bit of grounding. Perfect for an existential crisis! Lastly is Not Alone, a beautiful piece with a lot of weight behind it at the end of the episode. It gives a little gut punch of emotion at the end, as the classical instruments give a reprise of the main theme. If you were to listen to one song from episode 2, or maybe the main soundtrack, I would say this one. It is surely a beautiful music and gives me a feeling of comfort with a bit of bigger feelings of grandness mixed in. Truly a sweet and heartwarming tone with the context of the episode. Next, I'd like to talk about abstraction. It's a very interesting thing in this world because it happens when someone loses themselves completely, though it completely destroys the digital body, turning into a distorted mess of black mass and eyes. Then they are sent to the cellar where there are so many more abstracted creatures. We can tell who a few of them might be. There's a hallway in the first and second episode where the characters sleep that are with the doors with blank mannequins, ones of characters, and ones with characters that are crossed out. The ones that are crossed out are the ones I think are abstractions, some of them being a pink furry blob, a blue thing, a plain dog, a purple thing, a queen, like Kinger, an orange and green worm on a string, and a yellow rabbit thing. These ones are crossed out, which we can assume to mean they're gone, and the only exit we know of right now is abstraction. Supposedly Kinger has been there the longest, so he would have seen the most people abstract. You might give us more episode in episode 3 because it's supposed to focus on him and Zubul. Abstraction may cause you to glitch, but it doesn't seem to be able to make you abstract by itself. Because Ragatha got messed up. She glitched, but she didn't abstract. These characters have lost their minds and their digital body, but it makes you think, what happens to the body on the other side if it's even still there once someone abstracts? I'd also like to talk about Cain, and this guy is confirmed to be an AI, an artificial intelligence. He is really advanced one, I'll give it to him. He's able to come up with creative adventures, make more minor AIs and NPCs, and has an understanding of abstraction and how the whole world works. He's able to fix glitching with a snap, lift large weights with ease, and much more. One thing he cannot control, however, is the human mind. It cannot control the actions or the thoughts of the players, thus he is not all-powerful. It's also the main reason for abstraction and why he cannot cure it. He's an AI, not a therapist. He cannot bring someone back mentally who is long gone. He also does not understand a whole section of human emotion, as said by Gooseworks at a panel. So he's an entity with near godlike power and perception, and watches over these humans who have been trapped in a virtual world, but is not fully there mentally. Cain is an interesting character, trying to keep people sane by keeping their minds occupied, but has also made it clear that they are in a new world. I learned that Cain has been described by Gooseworks as, I would not call Cain a villain, but I would call them an antagonist. And I could see that. He He's trying to keep them in the circus and keep them happy, but sometimes he hurts more than he helps.
Wait, what?
Dude, we get it! Like, he even added the detail of the candy insects for Kinger to be happy during the candy adventure. I mean, he's not all bad. Lastly, I'd like to rate my favorite characters so far. This is only counting the main cast and no side characters and adventure characters like the Fudge or the Glen Queen. My list goes Ragatha, Pomni, Kane, Bubble, Kinger, Gangle, Zubul, and Jax.
Wait, let me explain!
Ragatha is my favorite because I'm just a sucker for the kind friend archetype. Plus, she's just adorable. I mean, just look at her. She's so squishy. I want to hug her. Pomni and Kane have switched places once or twice as I watched episode 2, because Pomni got a bit more space to breathe, and her interaction with Gummigoo really fleshed her out. Kane came in clutch, and I love the way his voice is delivered. I actually tried to message Alex, his voice actor, to see if he'd be interested in voice acting some jokes for this video, but sadly I never heard from him. The delivery by Kane is great though, and it really adds to the wacky animation for him. He also has so far has the best one-liners, hands down. Bubble, because simply they're just pure comedy gold. I have rarely not laughed when they have shown up. The voice delivery is also great, which I learned as I typed this that they're actually voiced by Gooseworks. Good work, Goose. Kinger's up next, because underneath the random babble and insect collections and game shows, there's actually someone who actually cares about those around him, as seen from the talk with Ragatha in episode 2. Gangle is next because I haven't really gotten a feel for their character fully yet. They're easily manipulatable and kind of a pushover, but I like their artistic personality, and I can see where their anxiety comes from. Next is Zubul, and if it was just episode 1, I'd say she'd be at the bottom. But after the funeral arrangements, it made me learn that there was some good heart in there, and she actually cares, even if she tries to hide it. Lastly is Jax, and this is a complicated feeling. Hey, put those pitchforks down and let me speak! The way I rank this is based on how much I enjoy the character. I am not a huge fan of jerky characters. Does that mean I do not find him enjoyable? No, he made me laugh often. Was it because he wasn't voice acted well? No again. I love Michael Kovac in almost every performance I have seen him in, and he does an amazing job here as well. It is more of the fact that I am not a fan of his feel. A jerk just to be a jerk character is not something I find much curiosity in. So I, so far, cannot see much reasoning behind his choice to be a jerk, aside from wanting to cause problems or for his own entertainment. Maybe it might hold a thing of resentment against the circus and it's him fighting back? I'm not sure. It might be because he's youngest in the circus, being 22, but again, I'm not sure. He may grow on me in the future, but right now he's at the bottom, even though most fangirls would imagine him on top. Now that I have talked a bit, I would like to ask you all, what do you think is next for the digital circus? Will it become a story of connections through tough times? Will it become a Hunger Games type survival to the last one abstracted? Or will they all work together to escape? Go watch the current episodes, which I will link in the description, because I always say support the original artists, and that includes this. Then come back and comment your theories. I also think that you should all 100% watch the released episodes in full, because there is a bunch of jokes, fun animation, and much more I did not mention. It is full of small details to the experience that I feel like you should honestly see for yourself. But one thing for sure, I know I'm excited for the next episode of the Digital Circus's next LARP session. Now we're going off script for the fan art feature. Stretch. Alright, so the first fan art is done by Crinkle Fries on Discord, and they have this cool perspective piece of Dark with, I love the little like gray hair in the head. I've actually already started growing gray hairs. I've already started growing gray hairs. I'm 25, but I feel 23, but I'm already growing gray hairs. But the like look back with the like scarf hands is really well done. The perspective is nice. I like how much depth you put into the coat and like, you know, the cloak lines, stuff like that. It actually gives a lot of volume to Dark, as well as the volume of the scarf. It's very well made, the colors are nice, and it's very muted, but very well done. I really appreciate this art. Thank you so much, Crinkle. Next one is by MKY Delufer on Discord, and it's just this cute little sketch of me. Look at me, little me. It's like a very cute design. I really like this style. It almost reminds me of Charlie Brown in a way, in a good way. Like, it has that like circular round in the hair, kind of showing where the head shape is, the kind of scraggly hair looking, and like just the smile. It's just a style that reminds me of that, but it's very well drawn and very well colored. Like, it has like a watercolor aspect to it. It's very nicely done. Thank you, Delufer. The last one is by Susaromox on Discord. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. And they have this me in the darkness. It's mostly dark around, but that makes sense for a character who's all about being in the darkness. It is a very detailed piece with a reddish outline, and it has a very good look. It's a very good looking art piece, and I love it a lot. I actually considered making it my background, but I decided I wanted a more colorful background, so I have my girlfriend's artwork up. But this is a very close second. But this is a very, very wonderful piece. There's so much detail. It has a lot of coloring. Even though most of the screen is black, it gives great contrast with the lighting, and it's something I enjoy greatly. Thank you so much for this art piece. You did an amazing job. It is truly great. Now that I've reached the end, I want you guys to know that you can vote on what I cover next on my Patreon. Or if you're a channel member, there's a poll on the community tab, where I will be putting a poll for what I do next. This poll will do what I covered next after my next video, because my next video has already been voted on. I do plan on covering more Digital Circus in the future when more episodes come out, or unless I'm asked not to. And I would love for you to join me in the headset once again. For now, it was wonderful having you in my cabin. But for now, support the original artists, get cozy, and enjoy your night. May the darkness guide you.